In episode 4, Ayo can't believe that Bucky has let Zemo out after everything that he did to the Wakandan king. Bucky tries to explain that Zemo is nothing more than a means to an end. And because she has so much respect for Bucky, she gives him 8 hours with Zemo, but says after that, we're coming for him. So Bucky heads to Zemo's hideout where he alerts them that the Wakandans are there and they're coming for him. Sam gets a text on his phone, however, alerting him to the GRC bombing that Karli orchestrated. And Zemo says she's getting worse. Sam makes mention that Karli's just a kid, but Zemo says you're seeing something in her that isn't there. You're clouded by this. She's a supremacist. That warped aspiration led to Nazis, to Ultron, and to the Avengers, which Sam takes offense to because they're his friends. Zemo says that anyone with the serum is on the path to supremacy. And Karli is no different. She's going to escalate until either Sam gets killed or Sam kills her. But Sam feels like there's got to be a peaceful way to resolve all this, even if Karli has truly been radicalized. Bucky points out, though, that Steve is a prime example of somebody who wasn't corrupted by the serum. And Zemo says that is true, but there's never been another Steve Rogers. They then discuss why they're there, because of Danya Madoni. And if she passed away, Sam points out there's got to be a funeral for her. And Karli, because she's so close with her, is probably going to be there. Now they just have to find out where that funeral is. So they head to the refugee camp and they all split up trying to find out where Danya Madoni's funeral is. Although nobody wants to talk to Sam and Bucky. Sam finds out why when a guy tells him that even though he's aware of who he is, he doesn't trust him. He takes offense when Sam calls it a refugee camp because he says we have nothing to seek refuge from. We're internationally displaced persons, for what it's worth, and we don't trust outsiders, and that includes an Avenger. So those two struck out. Zemo, on the other hand, went a different route, bribing children with candy and finding out exactly where Danya Madoni's funeral is being held. He, however, is going to keep the location a secret, so he has leverage. When they get back to Zemo's place, Sam makes the case of why Karli is so popular, saying that she's the only one that's fighting for these displaced people. For 5 years, people were welcomed into all sorts of countries because there were houses, there were jobs, but then all of a sudden, people came back from the blip, and all those people were displaced. Suddenly, the world went from working together to being just as it was before. And to all of those people, Karli is fighting for them. And she's different than people like Zemo because she's fighting for a different cause. Because Zemo is holding this information about the funeral hostage, Sam wants another pair of eyes on it. So he calls up Sharon and asks her to use a satellite and just keep eyes on the camp so they're not going into this thing blind. Right before he hangs up, though, Sharon lets him know that the power broker was not happy when Nagel was killed, because he killed the only guy that knew how to make that serum. And if Karli gets away, the serum is pretty much gone for good. She warns him that Madripoor is about to get real nasty. And Karli has hidden the serum in a cemetery. She's planning on making more super soldiers with them. But she is conflicted on if she's doing the right thing or not. So it's not like she doesn't have a conscience. But before she makes more super soldiers, she wants to pay her respects to Madoni. Bucky, Zemo, and Sam, however, are looking for her. And as they're walking the streets, they're approached by Walker and Hoskins. And Walker is not happy. He starts getting real confrontational with them. And Zemo calms him down by saying, I know where Karli is. So they start walking with Zemo leading the way, and Sam tells Walker, I want to talk to her alone. And Walker tells him no. Hoskins takes a more subtle approach, just telling Sam that she can kill him with one punch. But this is what Sam did. He used to counsel soldiers that were dealing with trauma. So the way he figures it, if he goes in there hot, more people could die. He might as well try to reason with her because she's in a fragile state with someone who's close to her having just died. So when they get to the funeral, which is being held in a warehouse, Walker is nice enough to give him 10 minutes alone with Karli until he busts up the party. And as Karli is giving a eulogy, Sam makes sure that he's seen by Karli, but doesn't make a scene. And once everybody clears out, the two are able to talk. He tells Karli, this doesn't have to be a war, but she says, they started the war when they kicked us out into the streets. People all around the world need me, millions of them. And Sam says, I understand your frustration. I understand that you think you're making the world a better place, but it's not a better place if you're killing people. Sam knows that she has more serum, and she admits as much, and he says, well, are you going to increase your army? Because you're killing innocent people. But she says, they're not innocent. They're roadblocks in my journey, and I would kill them again if I had to. And as soon as she says that, she knows how bad that sounded. She says, the people that I'm fighting are trying to take your home. Why are you here instead of helping me fight them? And Sam gets up and says, my sister's waiting for that exact same answer. But all I can tell you is I'm not your enemy. I agree with your fight. I just can't get behind the way you're fighting this. And then he points to Madoni and says, I'm sure she wouldn't agree with it either. It seems like Sam is making real headway until John Walker comes bursting through trying to arrest Carly. And Carly feels like she just got double-crossed by Sam. So she takes off. Another person that's able to get away, by the way, is Zemo. He once again escaped. It's kind of his thing. But he ends up running into Carly as she's trying to exit the building. And he starts shooting at her, hitting her in the stomach. And when he does that, all of the vials of serum spill out on the ground. And she's too compromised to actually grab them. It's a decision she has to make. Grab the vials and die or get away. She chooses to get away, and Zemo chooses to step on all of them. All but one. Because Walker ends up finding him, knocking him out, and finding that last bottle of serum. He doesn't inject himself, he just puts it in his pocket and saves it for later. With no serum and knowing that Walker and Sam and Bucky are hot on her heels, Carly meets with her group, and she's talking about what their next plan should be when she gets a text from the power broker. It's another warning from the power broker that if she doesn't give the serum back, she's going to die. One of Carly's underlings says, "We can't fight 2 wars at the same time and win." And Carly tells him, "Don't worry, I'll deal with the power broker when the time comes. And as for the other group, we'll just separate them. And then we kill Captain America." Now, Bucky, Sam, and Zemo went back to Zemo's place. They don't really want to hang out with Walker and Hoskins. And Zemo once again is pleading the case to Sam that Carly isn't going to change. She needs to be dealt with. She can't be reasoned with. He starts putting all super soldiers down, and Sam reminds him, we're working with one of those guys, a guy named Bucky. Zemo, blood isn't always the solution. At that moment, speak of the devil, Bucky walks in. And he says to both of them something's not right about Walker. And he's right about that. The stress of being Captain America is really getting to him. He's very unlike Steve Rogers, kind of on a power trip. And you see that when he busts open the door and demands that they take Zemo back to prison. But Sam isn't willing to do that, saying Zemo was more valuable to us today than either of you. Now, John Walker goes from Gordy Gohart to Tommy Toughnuts, getting in Sam's face and saying, "How do you want this to go? Do you want me to put down the shield and make it a fair fight?" And he does that, putting the shield down. But then all of a sudden, a spear whizzes past his head because Ao and the rest of the Dora Milaje are also there to get Zemo. And they're not there to become friends with John Walker, who doesn't really take them all that serious. That is, until they kick the ever-loving crap out of him. I mean, they really bust him and Hoskins up. And Bucky and Sam are loving it to a point. Bucky tries to intervene, but Ao actually ends up disabling his arm, which he didn't even know could happen. But while the fight was going on, Zemo once again is able to escape. And once the Dora Milaje realize that he's gone, they also take off. But this is a big wake-up call to Walker, because these people were not super soldiers. They were just regular people from Wakanda, and they beat the brakes off of them. So after this humbling experience, he grabs a drink with Hoskins, and they're talking about all they did to get those medals and how it wasn't really that honorable. But the conversation then goes to the serum. Hoskins is unaware that Walker has it, and Walker poses the hypothetical question that if Hoskins could take the serum, would he? And Hoskins says, yeah, of course. I mean, imagine how many people we could have saved back in the day if either of us were a super soldier. Walker asks him, wouldn't you be worried that it might change you? But Hoskins used the same logic that Bucky used, saying that, yeah, for every Carly Morgenthau, there's a Steve Rogers. All it does is make you more powerful. You are still you. So this is definitely food for thought for Walker. Over with Sam, though, he gets a phone call from his sister, who got an interesting phone call herself from Carly. Carly had mentioned that she needs to figure out if she needs to kill Sam or not, and she would like to meet with him. When she mentions how Sam is working for the new Captain America, Sarah says, I can tell you right now, my brother is definitely not working for him. But in order to make sure that Sarah gets the message to Sam and takes it serious, Carly threatens both of her boys. And when Sam finds out about this, he is livid. He goes to meet with Carly, although he doesn't follow the rule to come alone. He does bring Bucky. But he comes in his full suit. He's ready to fight. He can't believe that she resorted to such measures as threatening his nephews. But she lets him know that she had no plans on actually hurting anyone in his family. She tells Sam that she wanted to meet with him because she wanted to ask him to join her. But Sharon lets him know that John Walker is on his way to arrest all of Carly's people. So Carly, Bucky, and Sam race off to try to intervene. But as Walker and Hoskins are making their way through the building, the Flag Smashers kidnap Hoskins. And that puts Walker in a bit of a frenzy. He's a man down and he's fighting a bunch of super soldiers. So desperate times call for desperate measures and he injects himself with the serum. And when Sam shows up, he sees that Walker is now a super soldier. And he asks him, what did you do? But all Walker says is, they took Lamar. So they go off to find him, but Lamar is actually in the process of cutting himself free. Although the group doesn't know that. They've got the rest of the Flag Smashers to deal with, who are coming at them in waves with knives, and Walker is definitely a new man. But as Walker, Sam, and Bucky are fighting off the Flag Smashers, that's when Carly arrives. She sprints as fast as she can at Walker with a knife, but Hoskins, who has freed himself at this point, tackles her. Although that wasn't a smart move, because you've got a regular person going up against a super soldier, and Carly throws him against a wall and ends up killing him. And the entire fight stops when this happens. Everybody knows that Hoskins is dead. And Carly is even a little bit shocked at what she just did, so she runs out. But this infuriates Walker, who ends up jumping out of the building and chasing after one of the Flag Smashers, one that isn't Carly. And he ends up catching up to him, demanding to know where Carly is, but all the guy can say is, "Hey man, it wasn't me." But Walker doesn't care. In front of a group of onlooking spectators who have all of their camera phones out, Walker ends up bludgeoning this guy to death with the Captain America shield. Unbeknownst to Walker, Carly actually witnessed it as well, and she is left mortified. As is Bucky, as is Sam, and as is pretty much every onlooker, because they just watched Captain America murder someone. Thanks for checking out this recap. Please consider subscribing to this channel. Like the video if you liked it. Hit thumbs down if you don't. Be nice in the comments section. Nasty comments hurt my feelings. I work hard on these. If I make a mistake, it happens. If you don't see the next video up in the end screen, it'll be up soon. Sharing is caring. Put it on your MySpace page or your away message. And check out my podcast, Scene Invaders, wherever you listen to podcasts.